G'day and welcome to Aussievision. Today we're talking about the dress rehearsal for semi-final 2. We're in the media centre where we do have a little cheeky Baileys, well for us anyway. Liv is being quite well behaved here, so thanks Baileys. If you want to sponsor us, you know where to find us. We're going to run through the dress rehearsal for today in the order that they performed, the running order. Let's start with Denmark. Mike, what was your take on that?
Interesting one with Denmark. I do like the colour palette. I think it's got a very young, fresh vibe to it. A lot of sort of close-up stuff of Riley. We only sort of head and see the stadium a little later on. It's a bit of a video clip vibe with it. It's just him. They've certainly made some choices.
Liv?
Yeah, look, it feels... there's not that many upbeat songs or really poppy songs, so it feels like a bit of a funny choice to maybe throw out that early. Like it felt like something that probably would have done a bit better if you shuffled it in a bit further. It does feel like kind of, I don't know if you've ever looked at Riley's TikTok, but literally what his TikTok backing scenes kind of look like, and he's brought that to life. I would say a touch messy at times, vocally. I was a little disappointed.
Yeah, look, I think it starts really well. Great opening shot. And there's some parts that work really well. The visuals look pretty good. Vocally, some moments he's pretty good. And some he's actually really not great, actually, as well. And no, I haven't seen the TikToks. That's why Liv does the TikToks. TikTok queen over here. So, yeah, I don't know. I think I agree. Opening wasn't probably the best spot for him. And, yeah, I was probably expecting a little bit more from what we'd seen in some of those 30 seconds.
It feels unresolved to me. It's almost like that prop is half finished. That was my issue with it. Yeah.
You know what? Some dances would have been good. Something to give a bit more to it, I think. Yeah. All right, let's move on to Armenia. I've had feelings about this song all season, and so have you in a different way. What did you think of the staging?
I think perhaps I actually expected a little bit more, but in retrospect, thinking back to it, it was a pretty good show. It definitely stood out in terms of the concept. Her vocals were really good. She looks stunning, all that kind of stuff. It just sort of feels like when it goes between the start and then the dance section and then like the rest, it's like you've just slipped a gear and it's and you're just going along for a moment and then I've got my spot back again. So I just feel like it's a bit clunky at times, but the bits are good. They just don't always sit together nicely.
For me, real focus is her. She's amazing. I think she's an absolute star. Gorgeous. She looks fantastic. The styling of her is very good. You know, we only have that big sort of sloping prop that she's working with. I very much agree with Liv. It's very much, for me, 3 individual different performances, and it's the transition from each that I think feels clunky. Generally, though, it's very, very good. I thought she was excellent vocally. It's a nice performance. It's a very well creative performance. I liked it.
She looked amazing. I really like that sloping structure that they've got her on. I think that gives a different element that no one else has. I'm not a fan of the song at all, but I kind of enjoyed the performance today. Maybe I had a very low base to go off and didn't have any expectations, but I think they've done something okay. I find that weird kind of dance break thing, maybe we're just used to the song, but I found it a bit clunky. It's hard to know how this is going to go and how people are going to go for this, particularly in slot number 2, but we'll have to wait and see. Romania, Mike, what do you think of this?
Choices. Some real choices made here. First of all, Theodore Andre, he can sing it. I really enjoyed his vocal performance. The revamp of the song, the more acoustic start works, I think. Gives the song a different bit of pace, and then he gets into the final thing. But there's just some of the video choices, some of the images are just not it. Really, really wrong, to the point where I was gasping when I first saw a couple of them, and not in a good way.
Yeah, I mean, this felt very much dead on arrival, do not resuscitate, and then they just sort of thought, let's just try anything and see if it sticks. And the only thing that did improve for me was the acoustic opening. I think it does break it up, make it marginally better, but otherwise, la rivedere, goodbye, we're not seeing you again.
Yeah, I like that. I like the acoustic thing, and I thought it was actually going to lend itself to come into maybe a bit of a burst of energy to really show off his vocals, show off his performance style. but then you are so distracted by the LEDs. I think you said they look like dead bodies on the LEDs to start with, and then there's some of him, and there's a taste level issue here, and I'm afraid I don't think people are going to get behind it, unfortunately. Estonia, Liv, a good vocal performance, I thought.
Really gorgeous, and it was the first performance that didn't have either massive amounts of pink or massive amounts of red in it. So to have a bunch of blue was actually really nice for the eye to change things up a little bit. It pretty much is a national final performance on steroids. It's good.
Yeah, I think it does what it says on the packet. It's about her vocals will be the vote catcher. I love the colour palette. She does try some moves and movement which looks a little bit awkward, but I guess they didn't want us just stood there being static the entire time, so they made those choices. I think it's a pretty good package, to be honest.
Yeah, a lot of the same with National Final. There's a lot of, she does move around the stage a lot. There's quite a bit of walking, but I think that's kind of needed. Maybe I would have done a little bit less, but I do think it definitely adds to it otherwise, of being too static and the whole park and bark thing. Piano's there, I think it works. There's a couple of shots on the piano which are a bit odd, like it stays on the behind the scenes part. Just a second or two longer, but overall vocally it's great, and she just wows with that, and it'll be even bigger and bolder when there's a crowd involved. So well done to Estonia there. Well, then we kind of get the party started. The next one, Belgium. Mike, what do you think of this?
Yeah, first and foremost, running order's fantastic for him. A little bit like Mimi Cat yesterday. This show needed a bit of a boost and a bit of a pickup in tempo, and Gustav delivers. I like the staging choices they've made. Him and his backing dancers interact and intertwine. It's almost effortlessly. Plus we have our eye-catching dancer come on towards the end. It all works for me. Gustav can sing it. This is sailing through.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It was definitely a huge moment where it was like when that bass came in, we're all like, yeah, let's go, let's get this done. And there was a visual story. It wasn't just a song. It was, and also even visually, he sort of starts up top and then he sort of makes his way down to the front over time, and then the backing performers are all there. It's a really nice, neat package, and I would say he was the biggest winner of the running order today.
Definitely. Oh, it pops. It really does. And the movement's good. The silhouettes are great. And there's a very similar colour palette of the white and the pink that you saw in Czechia, but he has all that black in there as well, the black silhouettes and some other elements that come into the LEDs. So I think those three colours work really well together. The backing vocalists are great. There's some really nice moments with them. And then I think when the fourth dancer comes out, that's a real moment on arrival. I wish they made maybe just a little bit more of that. I want to focus in on the duck walk. I'm not going to try and do it, but you see him from behind for that, and I just think it could have been just, I'm nitpicking because this could win the semi-final. I do think it could potentially. It's a bit of a dark horse, but fantastic sailing through. Let's see what he does in the grand final.
There's almost, its triumph is its simplicity, because it feels clean and it feels well thought out.
Ooh, Aussie Andrew next for Cyprus. Liv, what do you think of him?
I bloody loved it, because he brings this really cool smouldering intensity, the way he looks down the camera, and I don't know how to describe it, but there's these little moments that he takes. It's almost like he just does like a little breathe in and then into the singing or something, and those little moments for me really sell it and give it a bit more impact. So my favourite bit is just definitely the way he connects down the camera.
Yep, I completely agree. For me, moments with this. There are moments. Andrew nails them. The vocal's terrific. The first sort of colour palette before it moves into the next maybe lingers a little bit too long, but in the end we do get our payoff, and there is a very memorable kind of finish. I was really happy for Andrew, and it feels a bit dark, but you can always fix up a camera shot or a little bit of lighting here and there. All the ingredients are there for a terrific result for him, I think.
Yeah, it opens big with it, that big note, and you're into it straight away. The LEDs look great. It looks like real water at one point, and it's just fantastic. I do agree, maybe just lighten up his face a little bit, because those looks he does are perfect. He doesn't stare too long in a kind of despo way. He actually does it just enough to kind of connect, but then get back onto the performance. So it's so good. And then when it moves into, eventually, I do agree, lingers a bit too long, into the kind of warm and the fire and the flames. It's really good. One to watch with Cyprus. It was a good day for Andrew. Iceland, Mike.
Delia, first and foremost, I'm going to say for me she's quite a unique kind of performer. I don't think I've ever seen anyone kind of deliver something the way she does. It's not going to be to everyone's taste, but I will pay her commitment to this. She 100% fully commits to this. I don't think it's that bad or anything like that. I just wish perhaps there was a different element to help her out. They do some very good LED use that changes throughout. There's a bit of floor work going on. I don't mind it, but I do think it's pushing it uphill, unfortunately.
Yeah, I kind of tend to agree. I mean, I think she's done everything that she can do with this song to try and make it stand out and do something. I find her vocal also just a little bit like jarring. Like this, it is kind of like, it's not shouty pop. She does a really good job. It is very melodic, but there is like a slight line that I feel like it's just for me, it tips into where I start to go a bit, too much.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that big note she hits is fantastic. I like that part, but there's a couple of times, she probably over-eggs it slightly. But yeah, I don't know. There's something about this that I quite liked. That she gives everything to it, but I do think there's some LED choices which are a bit unusual. The flowers, the funeral flowers, that's a bit odd, but she's giving everything. And I find it endearing in the kind of craziness that she does with like kicking her leg out, like. It's a bit like Elaine from Seinfeld. Like there's something a bit strange about it, but I kind of like it. Next, Greece. Victor in his shorts. Liv.
I do think there was definitely an improvement from what we got to see in the snippets, which is great. I would say vocally it was all pretty solid. I think I just found a lot of the LED choices extremely distracting because there was Victor real, Victor on floor, Victor on wall, and I was a bit like, all right, is there anything else we can do apart from Victor at this point? And then there was just a few funny little shots where it was like a bit like low to the ground and looking up in a bit of an odd kind of way, and I was very WTF.
Mike.
Yeah, I agree with Liv on the multiple victors. Plus, they're all dressed in this kind of, is it khaki?
Yeah.
It looks like you're at Australia Zoo and the staff are surrounding you or something. Look, we saw him at the Euro Village yesterday. He's a really, really good performer. He's a really good young artist. For me personally, I think they've left too much for him to do. He's given it everything. Vocally, I thought he was good.
Very good.
But basically, it's a performance of a 16-year-old trying to fill this big stage, and it kind of feels like it.
Yeah, I think vocally he was really good. Actually, really good. I was worried when we saw that 30 seconds, but I thought he's got a really interesting tone. I really like it, actually. But yeah, I think he needed something else to happen. Even towards the end, if you brought some other dancers on, an LED to sort of tell the story that's not just multiple victors, something else to this. And I think there were some odd camera choices, and I do think the khaki short thing I just think it's a bit odd.
The jacket also got a bit messed up, and
yeah.
He got stuck in it at one point.
Maybe he's going to wrestle a crocodile in the final or something. We don't know.
All right, well, let's move on to Poland. I can't remember who we started with last time, but I'm just going to go to Mike. We know you've been a fan of Blanca for some time. What did you think of her performance today?
Look, in generally, I really, really liked her. Is there a lot going on? Probably a bit too much. I think there's a couple of elements that they do where you expect something to happen and nothing happens. And you think, well, that just seems superfluous. Why did you do that? She was good. Yeah, I mean, she really, really gives it. There's a really great dance break in there that you can see. She gives it her all. There's just a lot. But yeah, I'd prefer too much than not enough. And I think that's what we saw from Greece, not enough. And we're probably seeing a bit too much from Poland.
I mean, it is a little bit like those Twitter memes about Poland defying a performance. There's a lot of like there's actually very few entries this year that do any kind of graphics on screen. She's got one minimum every 30 seconds, maybe even every 15 at this point, and it's way too bloody many, because if they looked really hot, I'd be like, okay, but they kind of look a bit dinky, so I'm a bit like, okay, let's just get rid of all of that. And then when she does a little dance break, I want to see her, but like there's this little shutter camera thing that they do, and it actually makes it hard to see the best parts of a dance, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I think it was good, but it's hard to tell because you put a filter over the top of it.
Yeah, it's odd, isn't it? Because I think the bits that work really well, and then all the other stuff, it just feels too much, because I don't know. I think they needed more than the national final, but then they've just taken and said yes to everything, and it is too much. But I do think in this semi-final it stands out. It's fun. It's boppy. It's kind of what the hell was that? But I kind of liked it, I think. So I still think we'll get through, actually. And vocally, I thought she was good.
Yeah,
it was competent, and she's stunning. You're going to remember her come voting time, so I can imagine she's going to get quite a few votes.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. That's all I'll say. Slovenia, Liv.
I thought, for me, this has actually gone up a little bit in my expectations. I feel like they've toned down a few things that were probably a little bit kind of like, I don't know, too intense, and then made it a little bit more accessible for people who are not females under 16. And I like the way that it's like you got introduced to each character in different ways. It wasn't just a blend of band. It was actually like this is this dude and that's that one, and it did feel like they had their own little personalities and stuff, and for me the staging has helped lift it a little bit.
For me it's almost like very brand Joker out. They're at the front of the stage, they're in a circle, so they're nice and tight. We've seen a lot of bands be very spread out across the stage, so they've done this very different, so that brings an intimacy to it. They certainly sell it. They're, good looking boys are going to come across that camera very well. They could probably tone down a little bit of the licking of the camera or something, whatever's going on. But generally, this is, really solid. This reminds me, I think they've gone to their strengths and played to their strengths, and it's not overdone. So, yeah, well done. Well done.
Yeah, I think it suits who they are, and it feels authentic to the band. There are a few, like, winks to the camera kind of thing, which, I would say there's a couple of slightly cheesy ones, rather than thinking maybe trying to be sexy. It kind of comes across a bit cheesy, but it's kind of cute as well. And you meet, I think you described like meeting characters, like you're meeting characters as you go through, and I like that, and it comes across well. The intimacy is great, so safely through, not a problem. I mean, not the kind of winning of the semi I think people think, but I think it'll still do very, very well.
I like the way they all come together at the end in front of the camera, like very good.
It's like a little end of the story, a little journey, and I like that. Next one was Georgia. Mike.
Georgia, I maybe had very, very high expectations on this one. The song itself I thought really, really did suit sort of dramatic, over-the-top Eurovision staging. Now, she's in a fairly, noticeable outfit, and something's lacking. Something is lacking. Whether there's not much creativity going on in the LEDs, she's carrying everything on this song, really. It's illegible as far lyrically. You cannot understand a word she is singing in. You would think it was another language if you're watching back in Australia, for example. And then when we finally get to what's supposed to be the moment, it just really looked a bit sad, really. I'm sorry, but it did. So I'm a little disappointed. You can tweak it and make it a little bigger maybe, but I don't know.
Liv?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they're going for a Georgia Warrior moment from 2015 where the staging was quite pared back but dramatic and did its thing. This is too pared back for this type of song. Yes, once again, the diction really does bother me. It means I can't really connect with the message at all. And it just feels like a huge missed opportunity, and also that I don't know how you describe the vocal she does with the all that. Sometimes it was just a little bit too much, and it was kind of just. I found the whole thing a little bit underwhelming.
I agree with both you in terms of going, I had high expectations because I thought this was always relying on the staging, so I expected something dramatic and big, and I mean I wouldn't even know what the message was ever because I've never understood like half the lyrics of the whole thing or the diction, but I just feel like I like the two kind of big screens that they're using, the LEDs and the way that they frame her. There's an interesting thing with the dress moving. It kind of looks like it's caught on the door, but they can get that right. I just think kind of your casual fan will go, oh, that's very Eurovision, and it's very dramatic. And I think in this semi, I don't think it's out because of anything.
No.
It's definitely, I understand why people would be worried about it. I don't think it can be maybe as dramatic and as big it could have been when it gets to the big dogs in the grand final, but I didn't mind it. Maybe I liked it a bit more than you two, I think. San Marino. Liv.
I don't know if there was any staging to be seen, but I still enjoyed it because, what else were they going to do? So they've done their band thing, they're out there, they're being a band, they're working the cameras, they're playing their instruments, and, there's some nice flashing graphics and stuff. It was a bit of a palate cleanser, honestly. Like, it's hard to say that with that song, I know, because that sounds crazy. But actually, when you kind of watch a lot of these entries trying really, really hard to get some big visual moments, to see an entry suddenly do something quite straightforward kind of worked.
Yeah, there's a lot of pops of colour, like particularly red and black in this entry. He sells it as much as he can, maybe a little overselling it at times, careful, but then again, I guess that goes with the song. It is what it is. The band, again, are pretty spread out amongst the back of the stage. You get little moments with them, but it's all pretty much about him. Was it ever a chance? It hasn't hurt its chances, put it that way, because it never was one. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I kind of enjoyed it. No, but not into a point of I totally what you guys are saying. It was just it was simple. It was almost a bit basic, really. But it was a palate cleanser. There's been all this there's been some weird staging in the semi-final, and it was just done. It was simple. He sung it well. We watched a man just do a very typical band performance that we probably saw at Eurovision 10 years ago, and he sang it really well, and it was all good. I just think no chance to qualify still, but I think it might beat a couple home, rather than be the kind of last place for everyone expected to, because at least it was kind of clean in a way.
I want to mention also, one of the band members is a guy that wears big red trousers. Keep an eye out for him. He is going for it.
Really?
In the background, he is just going for it. Yeah.
Austria. This was a really interesting one. Mike, what did you think of Who the Hell is Edgar?
We've seen from the previous TikToks and photos what the stage was going to look like, so that doesn't shock me. It's very sleek kind of looking and very sparse looking at times, particularly when you only have them two on the stage. You do have, I think, 4 live dancers on the stage, but they stay way at the back of the stage. They get lost with all the swirling dancers in the LED. They seemed a little bit timid performing it today. Maybe they were just saving the vocals, etc. There are some nice moments with spotlights and things like that, but yeah, it's good. It's not bad. I don't want to say it's bad, but I wasn't blown away or anything like that.
Can I just say, while this is happening, isn't that Blanca over there doing some dance stuff?
Yeah.
She's just there was just Blanca over there doing something. I hope she wasn't listening before. Anyway, let's keep going on with Austria. Liv.
Yeah, so for me, I really do hope it was that they were just holding back on the vocals a little bit, because if that was the offering, some red flags. But I think once you add the crowd in there and they feed off it and the ambiance of the cheering and stuff like that, I think some of the sparseness in the way it all mixed together will be smoothed out. I will say the black and white and red, I understand why they chose those colours obviously, but it's another entry with a lot of black, a lot of red, a lot of there's just visually it doesn't really stand out, and this is the type of song that kind of needed a bit of a really special visual moment, and it's not bad like you guys said, but it's just not knocking my socks off.
I was really surprised, and I hope they're holding it back, that the vocals just had no oomph, no power, very timid. And for this song, the po, you can barely hear it. It's po. Where's the power of that? And the visuals almost clash. There's too much happening in the visuals behind that don't complement the song. You just put po up. The 0.003 is probably the only part that really matches the two things together. Just, I don't know, they're almost distracting away from the two artists, and you need to focus on them, even if I do think they need to give more oomph. So, I don't know, to me the chances are over. I don't see this top 10. I just think it'll get through, but I think this has gotten for a pretty average result.
I think Liv's point of when the crowd's in there, I think they will feed off that energy,
Hopefully.
and I think they'll kind of rise to the occasion. It did seem like a bit of a run through today.
Yeah, maybe once I go live stadium, I'll be like, top 5. I'm allowed to change my mind. Albania, definitely going to live.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I've been saying for ages that this was a cracking entry and you guys are sleeping on it. Not Dale, he understood the memo. But they've done Albania as Albania does, you know, some traditional type vibe, modern-ish outfits with the red and the fire. But my favourite bit is actually when it all builds for that last minute and it goes into this beautiful golden sort of sunrise thing. It looks beautiful. The vocals really stand out. This is a song that is immediately, it was like an auditory like cleanse because it just sounds totally different to everything else in the semi-final, and it really did stand out in that way. So I'm very impressed. I think this is sailing through now, and I think they all should be happy with that place in the running order as well.
Yeah, this is not reinventing the wheel by any stretch of the imagination, but it didn't need to. The song itself is perfect for this kind of staging. She is stunning. What she is wearing. What she is wearing also draws your eye to her, but allows the other members to still be there and be present. Yeah, stick to your core values: black, red, fire, drama, and it's Albania to a T, and it works. So yeah, sailing through.
Yes, just they've done the whole traditional thing, but then just give it that oomph. You got Sasha Jean-Baptiste on the team here, and I think she's just added these little elements. I love that they've got the hanky in that instrumental bit, rather than just stepping around like they did at Festivale Kungus. It makes it a moment that's comfortable for the family, I think, to do. She's a star as a lead. Totally agree with Liv. It was always going to do well, but it's even exceeded my expectations. This would sail through, and yeah, I think it'll nab a few votes in the grand final as well. They've done a really good job. Well done, Albania. Very pleased to see. I'm off to buy an Albanian pin after today. Lithuania, Monica. What do you think, Mike?
Look, the word I want to use with this one is competent. Competent, solid. She delivers this very, very well. She's a terrific vocalist. She's probably going to be one of the best vocalists we see today, as well with Alika. It all comes together. I don't know. There's something about it. I don't want to say, it's a bit middle of the road, and it's what I expected, because it is a little better than that. But it is exactly a bit middle of the road and exactly what I expected.
I mean, her vocal is certainly a huge highlight here. It's so gorgeous, so clear. Kiri and I had the pictures of her dresses up, because obviously that's been a bit of a talking point. The team's been sort of experimenting to see which one. We think it was the short one she was wearing, but what they've done is they've stitched on a fabric so that she's got like a long sleeve and like a little bit of an 80s puffy shoulder kind of thing going on, because you can actually see the seam line that matches exactly where the short dress ended, and it is the exact same at the bottom. So I think that's what they've done. So I hope they're happy with that. But yeah, I mean, look, it's exactly the national final performance, just woofed up a little bit. It's nice.
Yeah, she sings it well. The LEDs are great. I think in this semi-final particularly, it comes across as very good. And I think the fact of being very good and clean and well done is going to be more than enough in this semi. I think there's a few acts that are struggling, and she's got a good running order as well.
Yeah, they use these sort of very kind of local motifs that you could see that are very Lithuanian. So that's going to appeal to the Lithuanian voters around Europe. So it's singing to the crowd.
All right, well, let's talk about Voyager Australia. We had to wait all the way to the end, which we're happy with because the running order is fantastic for Voyager. Now, Liv, what did you think of the performance we saw today?
I got to admit, that opening, really iconic in the car, like the way that they've lit down his face. He's got such a striking face as it is, but to have that light really leans into that whole 80s feel. There's one shot I was waiting for that didn't happen, which would be like where they pan up the car and then in the background it's like like it's driving down the road. I was kind of waiting for that to happen, but no, instead they went straight out for like a kind of the illusion shot where you can tell, it is stationary on the stage, but that's okay. It still looks really dope, but I think that shot would have looked beautiful. But anyway, I love their energy. They've captured some really nice moments down the camera. Like, you get to see each individual person, which I think is really important, to have your little moment with everyone where you can really connect. But there's probably just a few things that could be tightened up where you can just get a little bit more out of your shots.
Yeah, I'll just pick up on that last one that Liv said. It's nothing the band did wrong here. It's about capturing those moments through the television cameras, etc. If anything, I think the band have held back from their usual sort of energetic craziness so they can be focused on and give that television performance. I think this is another one that'll really lift when it comes to a live audience. And yeah, you're right. The opening for me is the one that really knocks it out of the park. Then we do get our moments later on, and it's a big finish. It's a good way to end the show.
Yeah, love the start. I think the way they pan around the car and Danny, it looks fantastic. And there's a few moments when he's standing up in the car. There's wind machines, so you're getting that kind of movement, that you kind of the illusion of the whole thing, and a few really nice shots. And there's a really good shot of Alex when he's doing the backing vocal, that pans across, which is so good. The ground moment, they missed it. They were zooming in on it, but they got the chest, so I'm sure they'll get the face for the final. But that sounds good that they're probably not going to do that long shot we saw in the 30 seconds, which I was not a fan of. But the best thing with this is, I said this yesterday, I think, on the pod or the video, is I knew today we'd go, they feel about 80-90%, because they're a live band. When they get in that stadium, all the kind of there's a lot of clean things that they're looking at the camera, they're getting all those things right. When you get the crowd on top of it, particularly for the chorus, the chorus felt a little bit flat today, but when you have that stadium singing it, they're performing it to it, and there's the crowd will sing along to that. It will lift this dramatically. And the only other thing I say is that I do think to finish, I don't think there's going to be pyro from what we saw. There could be pyro, they could be holding the pyro, we just don't know. I will be disappointed if there's no pyro, because I think it's just lending itself so much to it. Still finishes good, but yeah, I just think there could have just been a bit more oomph. But this is rehearsal. We need to see the live same to really get a sense of what this performance is like. But Ben did great today, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there was some pyro. We did get the, at the very end, the shoosh, as you can see in the rehearsal photos. But I guess we were kind of hoping there was going to be maybe like a poof, 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 poof fire moment.
I wanted to set the place on fire.
Hopefully we'll see a bit more in the sort of jury show tonight. Hopefully we'll get a bit better idea. And of course we'll have a full stadium, so I think we'll see what's really going on there.
Yeah, I feel we really have to wait until we see that to give a real proper sense of Australia and how this all sort of fits. But it does feel very safely through, I think, in this semi-final.
Very strong in this semi-final.
And I think we've been nitpicking compared to every other Eurofan press that we spoke to today. Loved it. So it's we're passionate about Australia, so of course we're going to nitpick a little bit. All right, well, that was the semi-final from today. Thanks for your thoughts, Liv and Mike, and we'll catch you all guys later. See ya.